Welcome to our Lebanon channel. Neo-Assyrian period 868 to 612 BCE. In the course of the 9th century BCE, the city remained close to the Israelites, as evident through the marriage of Jezebel from a royal Tyrian family with Ahab, king of Israel. Supplicant ruler right, who may be Baal on Esarhaddon's victory stele Pergamon Museum, Berlin. However, Tyre started paying tribute to the Neo-Assyrians who gradually established sovereignty over Phoenicia. It seems though that Tyre only made a nominal subjection and kept a large degree of independence, while benefiting in its commerce from the stability of a strong regional power. Thus, Tyre itself remained one of the more powerful cities in the eastern Mediterranean. One of its kings, the priest Baal I 887–856 BCE, ruled as far north as Beirut, and part of Cyprus. The evacuation of Tyre in 702 BCE on a relief in Nineveh. According to the myth, the northern African city of Carthage New City was founded in 814 BCE by Tyre's princess Elissa, commonly known as Dido the Wanderer, who escaped after a power struggle with her brother Pygmalion with a fleet of ships. She has also widely been credited as a pioneer mathematician in planimetrics. Legend has it that she purchased a large piece of land from the local Numid ruler, who granted her the size of land that an ox hide could cover, by having it cut into thin threads. The ancient historians Josephus and Justin give elaborate accounts that a political conflict between the king and the priestly class was at the core of the breakup. In the course of the 8th century BCE, the Assyrian kings attempted to increase their sovereignty over Tyre. Tiglath-Pileser III (744–727 BCE) demanded tribute from Hiram II and tried to prohibit trade between Tyre and settlements to the south. His successor Shalmaneser V besieged the city with support from Phoenicians of the mainland from around 725 to 720 BCE, but was not able to take it. Cyprus, on the other hand, liberated itself from Tyrian domination in 709 BCE. Sennacherib, who ruled the Neo-Assyrian kingdom from 705 to 681 BCE, failed to conquer Tyre in his military campaigns, but Tyrian king Luli lost control over the territories outside the city and was forced to flee. He was succeeded by pro-Assyrian monarchs and governors. Tyrian king Belu, or Baal I, reportedly assisted the Neo-Assyrian ruler Esarhaddon (680–669 BCE) in suppressing a Sidonian revolt and as an award gained control over much of the coast of Palestine. Yet, Belu apparently entered an alliance with Egyptian pharaoh Taharqa and was punished by Esarhaddon. Urbanipal, Esarhaddon's successor from 669 to 631, reportedly destroyed the hinterland of Tyre, but because of its economic potential preserved the once again rebellious city, which reactivated its trade and continued to prosper. As the Neo-Assyrian Empire crumbled during the 7th century BCE, Tyre and the other Phoenician city-states not only enjoyed considerable independence, but also booming trade activities. Independent and Neo-Babylonian period 612 to 539 BCE. After the fall of the Assyrians in 612 BCE, Tyre and the other Phoenician city-states at first enjoyed another boom of its commerce without the burden of paying tributes. However, this period ended after a few years when Nebuchadnezzar II in 605 BCE started military campaigns in the Levant. The Tyrian rulers allied themselves with Egypt, the kingdoms of Judah, Edom, and Moab as well as other Phoenician cities against the Neo-Babylonian ambitions for regional expansion. They succeeded in keeping their independence. In 586 BCE, Nebuchadnezzar II started a siege of Tyre that went on for 13 years. It failed, but the weakened city eventually conceded to pay a tribute. Due to the long siege, Tyre had suffered economically, as its commercial activities were greatly damaged by the instability. Numismatic sources suggest that as a consequence Tyre lost grounds in its traditional rivalry with neighboring Sidon, which gained back the upper hand. At the same time, the influence of Egyptian art, which had remained a cherished source of inspiration even since the end of the Egyptian domination of the region in the 12th century BCE, finally diminished. Persian period 539 to 332 BCE. The Achaemenid Empire of the Persian king Cyrus the Great conquered the city in 539 BC. The Persians divided Phoenicia into 4 vassal kingdoms: Sidon, Tyre, Arwad, and Byblos. They prospered, furnishing fleets for Persian kings. However, when Cambyses II organized a war campaign against Carthage, Tyre refused to sail against its daughter city. Silver coin minted in Tyre dated 437 to 425 BCE, on the left a dolphin and a murex, on the right an owl with an Egyptian scepter. Limestone stela from Tyre at the National Museum of Beirut, 4th century BCE, with Phoenician inscriptions: Wimes son of Gr, son of Bdmlqrt, son of Bd, son of Carthage. Under Persian sovereignty, Tyre, like the other Phoenician city-states, was at first allowed to keep its own kings, but eventually the old system of royal families was abolished. A republic was instituted. It was the government of the Sufetes judges, who remained in power for short mandates of 6 years. Silver coin minted in Tyre, dated 347 to 346 BCE, on the left Melkite riding on a maritime horse and on the right an owl with an Egyptian scepter. Tyre's economy continued to rely largely on the production of purple dye from murex shellfish, which appeared on a silver coin of Tyre around 450 to 400 BCE, when the city started minting its own currency. Other motifs on coins included dolphins. Herodotus visited Tyre around 450 BCE and found the Temple of Melkite. Richly adorned with a number of offerings, among which were 2 pillars, one of pure gold, the other of emerald, shining with great brilliancy at night. Some historians speculate that the emerald pillar was made of glass and lit up with a lamp. According to Roman historian Justin, an insurrection of slaves took place during the Persian period, which spared only the life of one slave master named Straton, who was then selected by the former slaves to be the new king and established a dynasty. In 392 BCE, Evagoras, prince of Cyprus, started a revolt against the Persian rule with Athenian and Egyptian support. His forces took Tyre by assault, or by secret consent of the Tyrians. However, after 10 years he terminated the rebellion and Tyre once again came under Persian control. It abstained from Sidon's insurgency in 352 BCE and profited commercially from the destruction of the neighboring city. Hellenistic period 332 to 126 BCE. After his decisive victory over the Persian king Darius III in 333 BCE and the conquest of Persia, Alexander the Great moved his armies south, exacting tribute from all of coastal Phoenicia's city-states. Tired of Persian repressions, they mostly welcomed the new ruler, yet Tyre resisted his ambitions. Tyre's king Asimilcus was at sea with the Persian fleet, when Alexander arrived in 332 BCE at the gates and proposed to sacrifice to Heracles in the city, which was home to the most ancient temple of Heracles. However, the Tyrian government refused this and instead suggested that Alexander sacrifice at another temple of Heracles on the mainland at Old Tyre. Blue marble torso of a Hellenistic statue from Tyre, Alters Museum Berlin. Angered by this rejection and the city's loyalty to Darius, Alexander started the siege of Tyre despite its reputation as being impregnable. However, the Macedonian conqueror succeeded after 7 months by demolishing the old city on the mainland and using its stones to construct a causeway to the island. Hellenistic theatre mask from Tyre, National Museum of Beirut. The tallest siege towers ever used in the history of war. Citation needed, were moved via this man-made land bridge to overcome the walls of the city, which was running low on supplies. As Alexander's forces moved forward towards linking the fortified island with the mainland, the Tyrians evacuated their old men, women, and children to Carthage. According to some historical sources, fellow Phoenician sailors from Sidon and Byblos, who had been forcefully recruited by Alexander, secretly helped many Tyrians to escape. Altogether some 8,000 Tyrians were reportedly killed during the siege, while Alexander's troops suffered only about 400 casualties. After Alexander's victory he granted pardon to King Asimilcus and the chief magistrates. Yet according to Arrian, approximately 30,000 citizens were sold into slavery. Hellenistic figurine from Tyre, National Museum of Beirut. Alexander's legacy still lives on today, since Tyre has remained a peninsula instead of an island ever since. After Alexander's death in 323 BCE, his empire was divided and Phoenicia given to Laomedon of Mytilene. Ptolemy of Egypt soon annexed the region to his territory, but held it only for a few years. Fibula in the shape of a maritime horse from Tyre, c. 4th to 1st c. BCE, Louvre Paris in 315 BCE. Alexander's former general Antigonus began his own siege of Tyre. The city had recovered rapidly after Alexander's conquest, but was still taken a year later. Antigonus' son Demetrius ruled Phoenicia until 287 BCE, when it once again passed over to Ptolemy. It remained under the control of his successors for almost 70 years, until the Seleucids under Antiochus III invaded Phoenicia in 198 BCE. Hellenistic figurines from Tyre, from the collections of the National Museum of Beirut on display at Beirut International Airport 2019. Despite those renewed devastations, Tyre regained its standing under Alexander's successors and as a privilege continued to mint its own silver coins. While some of the trade in the eastern Mediterranean diverted to Alexandria, Tyre profited from the developing Silk Road commerce. In terms of culture, Tyre rapidly became Hellenized. Festivals in the Greek manner with offering of sacrifices, gymnastic contests, pageants and processions became part of the life of Tyre. Silver didrame minted in Tyre, c. 142 to 141 BCE depicting Demetrius II. Some Arabian authors claim that Tyre was the birthplace of Euclid, the father of geometry, c. 325 BC. Other famous scholars from Tyre during the Hellenistic period included the philosophers Diodorus of Tyre, Antipater of Tyre, and Apollonius of Tyre. In 275 BCE, Tyre abandoned the concept of monarchy and instead became a republic. During the Punic Wars, Tyre sympathized with its former colony Carthage. Therefore, in 195 BCE, Hannibal, after his defeat by the Romans, escaped by ship to Tyre before moving on to Antioch. As the power of the Seleucid Empire started to crumble and Seleucid leaders engaged in dynastic fights, the royal rivals increasingly sought the support of Tyre. In this context, King Alexander Ballas gave the city the right to offer asylum in 152. Anyhow, the grip of the Seleucid rulers over Phoenicia increasingly weakened during the next quarter of a century. Thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe. Story to be continued.